Why are you excited to be here tonight?
Because I'm just excited.
Yeah. No other explanation. Now, I do believe, tell me the truth. Is it true that your dad has a ringside seat, but didn't get you guys ringside seats?
That is true, but it's because of his YouTube channel, okay? It's his YouTube, okay?
Her dad's an influencer. Let him go, guys. But your dad's awesome, right?
Yeah.
See, he's awesome! Yeah! Give it up for Claire. Thank you so much, Claire. High five. Yeah!
Mi gente, you already know who it is. The radioactive Pappa Joe Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Pappa.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby. What is up, everyone? Welcome to the pre-party or after party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jay Cal, and every Tuesday we present the pre-party or after party to get you hyped up, to get you excited about what you're going to watch on NWA Power, which is exclusive to the CW app or online at cwtv.com. And we are big fans of the NWA here. And we like to talk about the NWA here. And if this is your first time checking us out, we appreciate you for stopping in. Feel free to jump in the chat. Feel free to talk away. We enjoy talking all things NWA here at the pre-party. And we appreciate you guys being active and part of the chat. I do see some of my pals are already here. Dave Scooby, who reminds you to like, share, and help grow the show. We are over 3,500 subscribers, and who knows, maybe soon we'll hit that 5,000 mark. We're at 3.64 thousand subscribers. Once we get to 5,000, your boy Jay's going to get a new title made from TrophySmack.com to celebrate the moment. That should be a lot of fun. Our pal Steve G is in the house. What's up, Steve? How are you doing? And of course, Willie Bowen's in the house, and he's got his Tyrus joke of the day, which is Tyrus will be starring in a remake classic movie, The Picnic. He will be one of the picnic tables, and it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Hey, each and every Tuesday we do talk NWA. We do talk a lot of wrestling, and you are very much welcomed and appreciated here. We also have a Discord. Now, the link is in the video description, but if you check out our Discord, the conversation never stops. We're always talking wrestling, always talking NWA. In fact, we even after this show live here on YouTube and on Twitch and on X, we go into the Discord and we watch this week's episode of NWA Power. I hope you guys will join us for that as well. So what is going on in the NWA? It's kind of feeling like we're in a stalled pattern. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Now, we know that the NWA has already taped Hard Times. The fallout from Hard Times has yet to be seen, has yet to be presented on the CW app. We know it's coming soon. We do know some spoilers. It doesn't take a genius to find out some of these spoilers, especially when some of the wrestlers are spoiling things themselves. But we know that there will be a cage match in Alabama. We do know that there will be a world title defense in Alabama. We know that Silas Mason has surrendered the national championship before Hard Times. So perhaps we'll see a new national champion at Hard Times. And that's what we're kind of building towards on the CW app. Likewise, the NWA has still kept continuing to plug forward. We're seeing more and more shows being announced. Of course, last week it was announced right here on this show that the NWA would be heading to Texas for the Crockett Cup. Now, it's going to be a one-night event in Forney, Texas. And for those of you who don't know, that's about 30 minutes outside of Dallas. And we already know that the World's Heavyweight Championship will be on the line. This poster was not done by accident. We are going to see EC3 defend the 10 pounds of gold against Lucha Libre AAA superstar Sam Adonis. Now, Adonis formerly had worked with the National Wrestling Alliance, but it was almost 2 years ago since the last time we've seen Adonis in an NWA ring. In fact, even when the NWA went to Mexico, Adonis wasn't part of those festivities. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Of course, all the regulars have been announced. We'll see Blunt Force Trauma. We'll see the Southern Six. We'll see Odinson and Kratos. We'll see Murdochs. We'll see the Cazana brothers. We'll probably see the tag team of Idolmania Sports Management and so much more to come. Obviously, this is going to be a big event for the NWA. Their first time in the Lightning One era, stretching out to Texas. Of course, Texas was a mainstay for the NWA under the Bruce Tharpe era, where the majority of the wrestling promotions existed in the NWA, either in Tennessee or in Texas. And a lot of the promotions in Texas, of course, that brought about characters like Jax Dane, Tim Storm, Ryan Genesis. A lot of great talent came from the big state of Texas. A lot of those guys came on to win the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. We got some comments in the chat, so I'll say what's up to everybody. Of course, Matthew Underwood's here. What's going on, Matt? Noob is here. What's going on, Noob? DKM said, and some people from the NWA were recently down at Dog Pound. I was going to briefly mention that too. Now, Dog Pound Wrestling is the promotion that's associated with Jazz and sorry, something caught my eye. Jazz and Red Dog as their training facility is the Dog Pound training facility. Thunder Rosa used to also coach there, and a lot of those talents appear for Mission Pro. A lot of those talents appear in the Dog Pound Wrestling Company, and then they also appear in the NWA. Guys like Soda Pop, Hendrix, and some of the other talent that have we've seen kind of creep into the NWA are also based from that area. So this is kind of feeling like maybe something is brewing here down in Texas. Maybe there'll be a new affiliate in that area. Of course, like the rich history of the past, of course, whenever I think of Texas wrestling, I always think of the shadows of the Von Erich family. Of course, there's a lot of things going down in Texas, and Matthew Underwood said the same thing, the Von Erichs. But we could also see a lot of these tag team based Texas wrestlers surprise us at the Crockett Cup. Now, I don't want to get my hopes up because year after year at the Crockett Cup, your boy Jay always goes all in and gets super excited because last year we had the opportunity to have a reunited Dudleys take place at the Crockett Cup. Now, that was just, not 100%, but like we also just a few years ago, the Hardys were available, that the NWA did not bite on that. There was also, FTR was somewhat available. That didn't happen. But, this year, a lot of people are expecting the Von Erichs to show up. Now, as much as I would love to see the legacy of that is the Von Erich family touch down in the NWA, I just don't know where those boys are at right now. They were contracted to MLW for quite some time, but I believe at the moment that neither one of them are under contract to anybody. Now, I'm going to look that up real quick to confirm that, but I don't believe that the Von Erichs are currently under contract with anybody. We recently saw them in AEW programming. But let me just see here. Yeah, they're freelancers apparently, and they're out of Grand Prairie, Texas. So it's not like it's too far of a commute for them to make it to what's now I forgot the name of the event. It's going to be in what, Forney, Texas. That should be easy to remember. It kind of rhymes with something. But yeah, so the Von Erichs are currently free agents. So could they show up? Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It seems like it's built for them to show up. They're in Texas. The recent success of the Von Erich movie. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? But I'm not going to hold my breath. Another family with a legacy based in Texas, you'd have to think of the Rhodes Wrestling Academy and the brothers. What do they call them? The Texas Outlaws. I think that's what they call them. They're a tag team of comprised of the nephews of Dustin and Cody, Wyatt and Wayne Rhodes. They're going by the Texas Outlaws. Now that would be kind of cool too, to see them show up, right? To just show up because of the fact that they are one in Texas. It has the legacy. And for me personally, I kind of like the connection to the past and the present. Now we know that Cody is not going to be on an episode of NWA Power. He's a former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. We know that Dustin Rhodes will probably not be on an episode of Power, especially due to the fact that I think he's still under contract with AEW, but the Rhodes Wrestling Academy is still very much a free agent, if you will, and their talents are available to appear almost anywhere. So I would very much enjoy seeing both the Von Erichs and the Rhodes family touch down at the Crockett Cup. Now, of course, the regulars that are already scheduled to be a part of the Crockett Cup, they've already announced, of course, the World Tag Team Champions, Blunt Force Trauma, last year's Crockett Cup winners, Murdochs. That's Trevor Murdoch and Knox. Mike Knox, and they're scheduled to be a part of the Crockett Cup, as well as the U.S. Tag Team Champions, Kratos and Odinson, the Immortals. There's also the Southern Six are scheduled to be there, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see tag teams like the Spectaculars, the Heat Seekers, maybe even the Stew Crew getting an opportunity to be a part of this year's Crockett Cup. And then, of course, we didn't even mention the Cazana brothers or the Idolmania Sports Management. Sure. Fair, Matthew. Fair. Of course, Cody did appear. He was tapping out to the Kingsland Cloverleaf. Yeah, fair enough, Matthew, but I think you kind of knew where I was getting at, that we wouldn't be seeing Cody while amidst in a program involving the head of the table and the final boss. I don't think we're going to see him show up in an NWA ring anytime soon. Steve G says that the Motor City Machine Guns should be available. They're gone at the end of March, if not re-signed. And the thing about the Motor City Machine Guns is I don't know where they want to go. I mean, honestly, if you look at them as a tag team and all of the accolades that Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin have, you would think that maybe the best place for them to be would be TNA Wrestling. I don't see where going anywhere else would benefit them. They wouldn't be looked at as top competitors in AEW, nor do I feel like they'd be considered top competitors in the WWE. Now, if they want to look at an opportunity to maybe, showcase themselves as a tag team, NXT would be a perfect place for them. But I don't see them going beyond the developmental for the WWE, and that's not to put them down. It's just the opportunities are limited on the main roster. So staying with TNA Wrestling, I think, is the best move, unless a big money offer is coming from Japan or a big money offer is coming from, AEW, then I don't see the benefit of taking that. Now, Dave Scooby recommends the Midnight Heat. Of course, I love Midnight Heat. They're former United Wrestling Network Tag Team Champions. I think that they would make a perfect addition to the Crockett Cup this year, but I don't know where the NWA is planning to go with this Crockett Cup. And because it's a one-night event, they might have to trim down on some of the teams that they've had, and because it's not just going to be the taping for the signature live event for the Crockett Cup, but it's also going to be leading up for their television for the month of what I'm assuming is June. So they're going to have to. It's not just going to be the tag team tournament, but it's just one night of wrestling. So they have to work all of this in. And those, although I know those TV tapings can go long, I just don't imagine that they're going to do a signature live event that's only going to be Crockett Cup matches. I could be wrong. Noobs said, I saw a tweet from Brian Idol, and he is at the trailer for the new WWE documentary series called WWE Next Gen. And a lot of people are excited to see him on the show. Too bad it's on Roku and not Peacock. I've heard about that, and that's like a I don't know what exactly that is, to be quite honest. I saw it. I know it's being presented by John Cena, and what it sounded like to me was like it was a docu-series, kind of almost like a TV show about wrestling. But I'm not 100% sure what it is, to be quite honest. Willie says the Zaddies, the Wolf Zaddies, Che Cabrera, and of course, friend of the show, Bad Dude Tito. Those two dudes, I think, would be primed for the NWA. They are exactly what you would want in an NWA tag team. Two guys who are built, who could stand toe-to-toe with Trevor Murdoch and Mike Knox. They're two guys that would not shrivel in the spotlight for certain. And you put those guys in the same ring as the Immortals, and they don't look like minis. These are legitimate heavyweights. Bad Dude Tito has literally in the last 2 years wrestled for the New Japan Pro Wrestling in the United Kingdom, has wrestled for Mexico in CMLL, has wrestled in New Japan for New Japan, wrestled in Japan for New Japan, has wrestled for AEW, has wrestled for Ring of Honor all over the United States, Mexico. Bad Dude Tito is a bad dude, part of the TMDK faction in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but really has marked his territory, no pun intended, everywhere. He is still the United Wrestling Network Tag Team Champion with Che Cabrera. He still has a number one contenders opportunity against Danny Limelight for the UWN World Title, and really the world is Bad Dude Tito's oyster at this point. So yeah, I'm cool with seeing him anywhere and everywhere. Let's see. Also, Misa Kate was attending on last night's Raw, which is why she's incognito. Interesting. I did not know that she was a part. Well, see, Misa Kate is a Chicago native, so I'm not surprised that she showed up at the event in Chicago. And there could be tryouts, there could be dark matches, there could be talent evaluations while they're in town. All of that is pretty normal. And if the WWE were to jump on a Misa Kate, that'd be a great move for them. She's a very talented wrestler. It would be certainly a blow for the NWA. But of course, the NWA is kind of bottlenecked right now with Max being the TV champion, who we haven't really seen that women's television title being defended much as of late, and the world title is dominated by Kenzie Page, and kind of this ongoing storyline with La Princesa Tiffany Nieves. Of course, the tag titles are wrapped up with the King Bees and Pretty Empowered, so it's kind of interesting to see where they're going to go in the NWA women's division. But if they were to lose Misa Kate, I think that'd be a huge blow for them. Steve G said, I mentioned Motor City Machine Guns because it's a one night only. And that makes a ton of sense. Now you're talking. See, that's actually, you know what, Steve G, I apologize. It's brilliant thinking. Then DKM says, WrestleZone has learned of plans for the NWA to host the 76th in Philly later this year. The event would take place at the 2300 Arena on Saturday, August 31st. Wow. we all kind of thought that the NWA would be in Philly at some point. There was a lot of speculation. We've heard a lot of noise about a opportunity in Philly. Did not know that it would be at the ECW arena. And that is very attractive to a guy like me, who that would be two birds with one stone, getting out to Philly again. I had a great time in Philly. Got to see my boy Jaden. Got to take in some South Jersey's finest wrestling when I went to Philly. But I did not get to go into that ECW arena, that 2300 arena. And that would be very attractive to a fan like me. So I'm going to have to do some thinking about that. Maybe I'll have to call the missus and see if we can make a trek to Philly. Mike says, agreed. So why aren't they in the NWA already? Mike, I'm not sure who you're talking about. So maybe you could throw that back up there and tell me who you were talking about. J. Cal, do you think Watts could be a good addition to the NWA? Okay. So I'll be honest. I have a soft spot in my heart for SoCal wrestling. You guys know I'm a SoCal guy. I used to run the SoCal Uncensored website for about 6 years. I am very partial to Southern California wrestling. I feel like we get a bad rap out here. Some of the biggest promotions in the United States have spent time here in Southern California. Of course, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla has been on indefinite hiatus, but some of their, literally that promotion has been like a scouting for the big three, and meaning the WWE, AEW, and at points Ring of Honor. If you look at the who's who of their former champions, many of which came directly, many of the NXT champions and many of the AEW champions are former Pro Wrestling Guerrilla champions. So I'm always partial to Southern California guys. With that being said, Watts has kind of fallen off the map a little bit. And I dig Watts. I got to go with Watts to China. I got to kind of know who he is as a person. Good dude, great dude, to be quite honest with you. And his return to wrestling, whether it be local or national or international, is long overdue as far as I'm concerned. I want to see Watts back in a ring. I think he'd be a perfect fit for the NWA. I could see him standing toe-to-toe with Silas Mason and having a hell of a blow-off, a hell of a feud between those two guys. What they're going to do with Watts, I don't know. I don't know where his plan is, what his plan is, where he wants to go next. So I can't say that he would join the NWA, but I think if presented with the opportunity, it would make a lot of sense. 76 in Philly. Wow. That 76 in Philly just kind of sounds right to me. Mike says, honestly, I don't feel the loss of Misa Kate will be a huge one for the NWA. Personally, for some fans, yes, but for NWA, no. There are many who go in and out of the NWA. Female-speaking NWA has had women out of school training for 2 weeks and on an NWA event and is still there today. Which is, I mean, you're right. I can't disagree with you on that. I still feel like Misa Kate is highly underutilized by the NWA. They gave her a title run with Ren, formerly known as Maddie. So a return to the NWA, or a departure from the NWA, I still feel like would sully the women's division slightly. But of course, you're right. They have found more women. They keep bringing in new talent. We saw the Renegade Sisters for about a month, and then they were gone, and they had 2 tag title reigns in that time. So, oh wow, that's a good call, Dave Scooby. Black G's and Watts. That would actually be a fun pairing. And then, TKM says, I don't know much about Wrestling Zone. Hey, that's all right, man. Sometimes you throw a dog a bone and they run with it. Philly and 76 in Philly sounds cool, but it's not been announced yet by the NWA, so it's only speculation at this point. And then Mike said he was talking about bad dude Tito. Tito, to me, is why isn't he signed by the NWA? I mean, quite honestly, it's probably a money thing. Tito can demand a higher salary. Tito is a very hot commodity. If Billy doesn't want Tito because of where Tito had been previously employed or currently employed, and I'm not saying that's the case, but that would be odd considering how many folks that are currently in the NWA had got their starts with United Wrestling Network or had some camera time with the UWN. Specifically, in the past, there's been Captain Yuma, right? There was Jordan Clearwater. We had Slice Boogie for some time. JR Kratos came from there. So I don't think that's the case, but I could be wrong. Only SoCal I don't like is SoCal Val. Yeah, SoCal Val. Quick story. One time at a UPW event in early 2000, a very, very young man named Jay was with his buddies who were all just about 21, 22 at the UPW event. And my buddy was trying to hit on SoCal Val. Needless to say, he did not get her digits. Noob says the NWA Women's Division got their hands tied from Max, holding both TV titles to the Women's Tag Division, has no other tag teams. Tiffany Nieves is booked great so far. Natalia is directionless. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. You just nailed it. What are they doing with Natalia? Whatever they need her to do. So far, she's not been put in a prominent position on the roster. She often gets opportunities to challenge for the titles, but she has been yet to win one of them. And if you look at the way that the women's division was booked, since Camille has gone, right? The fact of the matter is that the women's world champion Kenzie Page lost the television title to Max the Impaler, failed upward and won the women's battle royal to the Burke Invitational to challenge Camille the following night to win the title. I mean, that's kind of, she overcame the odds, and that shouldn't have happened, to be quite honest. Markova and Camille had a terrific match. Kenzie lost the title, but then won a title. She failed upwards, and how often do you see that in pro wrestling? With all that being said, Max has Kenzie's number. And when Max decides to call in the challenge for the Burke, she being Kenzie, has an opponent who's beaten her multiple times. So I don't know that, again, that whole story is bottlenecked. If I'm Max, I'm challenging for the title to get that payday, right? I get where Max wants to be, or Max is non-binary and doesn't identify as either division, right? But as a champion, you get paid more, and getting paid more is kind of what the idea of pro wrestling is all about. And Max has a direct line right now to the Burke. And if Max wins 5 more matches with the men's television title, would have a direct line to the 10 pounds of gold. If that's what Max wants, then that's what Max could have. Now, DKM is correcting me and say that Max and Kenzie are 1-1. And I thought maybe I'm misremembering, and that's why we have fact checkers like DKM in the chat. I thought that Kenzie had lost both matches against Max. But we saw the sound beating that Max put on Kenzie for the television title. So I don't know. And then also DKM says, where do you put everyone? As in everyone on the roster or everyone at the Crockett Cup? I mean, clearly there's limitations to both, but there, you look at the roster, and I don't see the NWA going out and acquiring a bunch of talent who are free agents at the moment, because they are currently discovering their own talents within through the farm system. The benefit of having the territory system is being able to develop new talents for the NWA. And some of those talents, I mean, I mentioned earlier the Stew Crew, right? But there's also the what are their names? The Booger Kids. What are they called? The Snots. Oh, come on, man. I can't think of it. Someone help me out in the comments. Shoot, I can't think of their name. And then there's man, I can't think of the tag team's name. But there's a lot of guys out there who are currently already working with NWA territories. So I feel like if you're going to bring people in, that's who you should bring in. Slime balls. Thank you, Dave Scooby. God, the boogers, that's not even close to being correct. Then DKM says, put everyone as people say they need to bring in so-and-so. Yeah, DK, you're right. I mean, there obviously there are limitations to the roster size. And, even on a smaller scale, the NWA doesn't have AEW money. They can't afford to have hundreds of people on the roster for 45 minutes of television every week. That's not smart business. So I do agree with what DK is saying. It would be nice to see so-and-so show up. It'd be nice to see so-and-so show up, this tag team or that star or whatever. But the fact is there is a very limited spacing. And, the big money that the NWA is spending are on the guys that they currently have. So, Trevor Murdoch is still very active on the roster. Jax Dane, Tim Storm. There is a group of former world champions that aren't even in the main event picture right now. Where do you cut the talent? Who do you cut from the roster to make room for these guys? I mean, I can think of a few people I wouldn't mind seeing disappearing. Rolando, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Steve G says that he agrees with Noob that Markova should have been the one to take the belt off of Camille. Mike, going back to Val, says, with Val, I was part of something that brought her in years back. Rented a venue. She was there with the others for a signing and all else. Due to her time slot not having a lot of auto requests or paid to see tickets, she got up and left, was very snotty and arrogant about it. I found out and said, oh, hell no, get the F back there, please. Line or not, you still got to be there for your asking fee. And she went back and the rest is history. Sounds pretty rough. Kenzie beat Max to win the TV title and then lost the title to them. Okay, you know what? That's why you're the fact checker, DK. Steve G says Nyla Rose versus Max. I mean, it's not an interpromotional thing. That's, we have to understand that too. AEW and the NWA have had less than a tepid relationship since the first Empowered pay-per-view, and we haven't seen them really work together since. And nor do I expect them to work together again anytime in the near future. The thing about it, too, is since the NWA and AEW worked together, the AEW went out and bought Ring of Honor. They don't need to work with the NWA. And on top of that, AEW has existing relationships with New Japan Pro Wrestling, CMLL, AAA Lucha Libre. So there's three promotions right there that have a much larger stature than the NWA that they are currently working with. With that being said, New Japan and CMLL also have working relationships with promotions like MLW, where we've seen Bad Dude Tito show up. So it's like there's no real incentive for AEW to even work with the NWA at this point. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Noob says, don't get me wrong, I enjoy Natalia Markova, but she has no direction here fantasy booking. If Natalia gets one last chance at the Burke, if she lost to Kenzie, either don't get another shot or leave the NWA. I mean, the thing is, there's no timetable for any of these talents, right? They're going to keep working as long as Billy keeps booking them, whether their character benefits from it or not. At the end of the day, all of the talent are working per appearance. Well, let me rephrase that. All of the talent are working because they want to get paid, right? I mean, that more so than anything else, they want to get paid. So if Natalia Markova has a booking that's better than the NWA and she's not signed to the NWA, she'll probably take the better booking. But until that comes around, why not just continue to work for the NWA? DKM says Kenzie lost to Camille several times. Yes. Did I not agree with that? Kenzie, yes. Oh, maybe you're backing me up with what Noob just said. Kenzie is definitely she is considered homegrown to the NWA, but we got to watch her progress from enhancement to world champion. Like when they brought her in, I don't think she was planned to become a future world champion. I think she worked her ass off to get there. And you could see, like, if you go back and watch those early episodes where she was basically fodder for Camille, she was not the wrestler she is today, both in terms of ability and appearance. And you have to tip your hat to Kenzie Page as much as she's gotten into that that shape, into that mindset, into that her promos are good, her look is good, her in-ring is good. Chris Drummond is in the house, big Chris dog, if you will. And I'm gonna drink some W. Yeah, W. Hits the spot every time. So yeah, at least as it goes with the NWA, I don't think you're going to see them working with somebody like AEW. Now, there's a lot of wrestling promotions that are out there right now that I feel like the NWA should continue to work with. They have these partnerships. Obviously, there's the 3 territories, Chicago, Ohio, and Tennessee being the strongest partners there, right? That's where things are going right now. But I could also see like more working with the promotions in not Chicago, in Florida, like Boca Raton Championship Wrestling or CCW. Of course, as they enter Texas for the first time, ultimately a partnership with Dog Pound Pro Wrestling would make a lot of sense for the NWA if it's something they want to continue to work out there in Texas. And then, there's been talk about this Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. MLW might benefit from a working relationship with the NWA. And then, the promotions that are out there, at WrestleCade. Every time WrestleCade comes around, it seems like there is always an NWA contingent out there at the Winston-Salem area in North Carolina. It would make a lot of sense for the NWA to partner with a group like that and being able to put pay-per-views on, or signature live events, if you will, in that arena with that fan base who is such a diehard wrestling group. Markova has been wrestling in the Indies. She should. She definitely should. The thing about it is these contracts with the NWA are not exclusive. We see Kerry Morton working with Game Changer Wrestling quite a bit. It's a good spot for him. Matt Cardona seems to work with everybody, including the NWA. We haven't seen a lot of NWA talent, bounce from the NWA to MLW or the NWA to United Wrestling Network. But in the past, Jordan Clearwater was working both. In the past, we saw Matt Cross working with both. In the past, we saw Cardona continues to work both MLW and the NWA. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with these guys working indie dates, especially when it means victory for them later down the road. And what I mean by victory is, I mean a payday. Mike says, don't steal my W line. You got it, dude. You got it. Steve says the NWA should use CJ as a wrestler more often, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's another group, River City Wrestling out there in, I believe they're in San Antonio, Texas. They have a great brand. They have a great product, and CJ wrestles for them quite a bit. Willie says that NWA should work with Combat Zone 2, CZW. And I don't know if CZW even still really exists in a way that it used to, where they were running shows frequently. And then Matthew Underwood says, House of Glory, if nothing more, for Mike Santana versus EC3. All right. It's again, there are some promotions that'll make sense that they should come under the NWA banner. And then it makes sense for some of these promotions just to work with the NWA. We saw last weekend World League Wrestling did an event with the NWA. I don't even know if there's results for that. Huh. They did that show in St. Louis at the WLW Arena, and it doesn't look like there are results for that show. It's too bad. Yeah. In the meantime, you just have EC3 defending the world title in Ohio Valley. We missed talking about it here on the show, but EC3 defended the title back in February in Elk Grove, California, which is not near me at all. That's like Northern California. It's a shame, but hey, that means that's another state that he's defended the title in: Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and it goes on and on and on and on. Let's see more comments. Chris Drummond says CZW still exists, but primarily in Delaware. Yeah. Okay. So it's still around, but what is it today as opposed to what it used to be? Chris, I think you'll remember when Ring of Honor was at one of its highest points, they had a feud with Combat Zone Wrestling. And I believe it was like Claudio Castagnoli, Chris Hero, Super Dragon, B-Boy, Homicide, kind of representing that CZW flavor versus Ring of Honor's, talents like Samoa Joe, Bryan Danielson, all of that. So, I mean, that was obviously a different time and a different place. What CZW is today is not either one of those things. He did say, Chris says that Rich Swann is Combat Zone champ, which is cool. Nothing against Rich Swann, but like it still just doesn't carry the same value, right, that it did maybe even 5 years ago. Steve G says, do you think CW has helped the NWA? I mean, that's kind of a loaded question, and I don't know how I can answer that for you, Steve, because what we do know is that what we could assume that the NWA is making more money with the direct connection to the CW app than they were with YouTube. And that's not hard to believe, especially because as a YouTube content creator as well, I can see basically, I know what I make for what my content is, and my audience is, like one 1/22nd of what the NWA content is seen by and how many people view it. But even if my numbers are 1/22nd to the size of the NWA, I do a podcast in my homemade studios with a digital camera and very low production costs. The NWA is spending probably close to 10 grand an episode. If there's not a larger return on investment from their viewing audience, then what's the point, right? I do believe that CW is paying them more to be on their app than what they were making with the NWA. What that number is, I don't know. And the byproduct of that is the NWA has certainly missed out on its international audience. Less people are talking about the NWA outside of the U.S. And that is a very real deal. That's a real thing. So, but that brings us to tonight's episode of POWERRR as we get ready to go and watch POWERRR together on our Discord. Make sure you follow the link in the chat. In fact, I think I could pull it up here too and put it here in the comments. Oh, nope, that's not it. Shoot. It's in the video description. It would take a lot of time for me to try to get that to that right now. But, for tonight's show, we have some national championship qualifying matches, and of course a big tag team match, and things are looking up for POWERRR. I'm excited to see what's going on in this episode. But before we get to that, let's see what Matthew Underwood says. He says, do you think some of the format tweaks in the backstage brawl between Aaron and Kratos are a result of notes from CW? Seems creative is changing slightly. It very much could be. The CW is not going to book the NWA, that's for sure. But if they have notes that would help increase viewership, it would be asinine for Billy not to listen. And of course, we don't know how long this relationship with the CW app is going to last. Remember that come September, 2024 September, NXT becomes home, or let me say that differently, CW becomes home to NXT exclusively. They'll be leaving the USA Network and coming to the CW, which means that they'll be on both the CW channel, right, and on the app as well. So you would think that the NWA would do what it could to make sure that they are attractive enough to CW to be kept on the app after NXT arrives. But going to this week's episodes of Power, of course, and this is no particular order. I have not watched the show yet, so I don't know what matches are coming up next or what, but I think that this has a good chance of coming up first. The NWA National Heavyweight Title qualifying match. We have Magic Jake Dumas with CJ taking on Burchill. Now, Burchill last appeared in the NWA when he challenged Silas Mason for that national title. He was unsuccessful in becoming the next champion, so he was entered into this qualifying process to determine who will be in the match to crown a new national champion. Of course, Magic Jake Dumas had spent most of last year in a tag team, and now back on the singles, running with the singles. This is a huge opportunity for him, one that should not be taken lightly. Of course, CJ is definitely a question mark whether she will enhance his abilities or take away from them. You're never really sure when it comes to CJ, and Burchill is a bit of a wrestling machine, so I think this will be a very interesting match, and hopefully Magic Jake can put on one of his best performances, because he'll be taking on Burchill, who's been to that upper echelon of talent. Chris Dog says, breaking news since WrestleZone says that the 76 will be in Philly, that the big Chris Dog will be there to heckle the WPC. Yeah, maybe I might be there too, Chris. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I also have plans to try to get to Texas too, so got to figure that all out because travel gets expensive. Also, for tonight, looking at the national title qualifying matches, we have AJ Cazana and Zyon. Now, there's a lot of bad blood here between Idolmania Sports Management and the Cazana brothers. We know that just a couple of weeks ago, it was KC Cazana taking on Anthony Andrews, formerly of the Country Gentlemen, now part of the Idolmania Sports Management, and on again, off again tag team partner to Zyon. We know that KC Cazana lost to Anthony Andrews. Andrews then began to continue the attack on KC, the brother of AJ, and it enraged their father, Joe Cazana, so much that Joe jumped in and started throwing some bombs on quote unquote, their cousin. And it was kind of fun to watch Joe get back in the ring after, his career with in the world of pro wrestling. Never say retire, but certainly has not been taking very many bookings in the ring. It'll be interesting to see Bobby Fulton as AJ's second, because normally it's Joe Cazana or nobody. And what will Bobby Fulton bring to this match? We know Bobby Fulton and Anthony Idol do not have any love lost there, so that'll be kind of a weird dichotomy. Maybe we'll see DK's threatening me now. He sent me a photo just now on my phone of I can't explain it. That'll get me demonetized. But yeah, so that's one matchup. Then we also have a tag team action. Now this one's crazy to me. Magnum Muscle taking on Tim Storm and Jack Stane. Now, watching Tim Storm and Jack Stane as a tag team is not crazy to me. They're pretty functioning tag team, former world heavyweight champions. Of course, Jack Stane is a former world tag team champion, as well as being a two-time national champion, a North American champion, and a world champion. Tim Storm's a former national champion, North American champion, and world's heavyweight champion. In fact, he was the ambassador of the NWA when Billy Corgan purchased it. He was the first world's heavyweight champion under Billy Corgan's stewardship, if you will. So having these guys team together makes a lot of sense. They had a great rivalry throughout the years. They both have grown and matured, and now see the value in tag teaming with one another. And who knows, they could be the team that surprised Blunt Force Trauma and win those World Tag Team Champions. So nothing bad to say about them. In fact, they took BFT to the limit just a few weeks ago on Power as part of the Paranoia Signature Live event. So to say that there's something there between Storm and Dane is 100% factual. But the real compelling part of this match is seeing Dak Draper and Mims as a tag team once again. Now, remember, after Mims won the television title, he did have a title defense against Dak Draper in a match where Mims might have been outwitted, outmatched, out-wrestled. And Dak Draper was very much in control of that match until Mims used that time limit advantage to his benefit and was able to get that to retain the title due to the time running out. So is there bad blood between Magnum Muscle? Are they going to did I say Anthony Idol? Obviously, I meant Austin Idol. Anthony Idol would be the cousin, the nephew, the grandson of Austin Idol. Sorry, that's my fault. But yeah, I feel like seeing Magnum Muscle back together is going to be kind of weird, especially the way that Mims discounted Dak Draper and basically stole the opportunity away from Dak Draper by leaning into that count out. So I don't know. That's going to be an interesting matchup. And then, of course, one of the overarching storylines has been with Vampiro. Now, we've seen him talking to the camera for multiple times, whether it be on the social media of the NWA or the NWA Power episodes themselves. And Vampiro has been talking about training somebody, bringing them into the darkness, bringing them into, the dark carnival, if you will. But Vampiro has seemingly taken Alex Misery under his wing. And now these two, Misery and Mecha Wolf, are scheduled to face off in an unsanctioned match. Now, Misery, as we've mentioned here before, is the son of former NWA North American champion and World Tag Team champion El Gran Apollo, or El Leon Apollo. And so Misery, being a Puerto Rican born wrestler, facing off against Mecha Wolf, who is also a Puerto Rican wrestler, both kind of riding the side of darkness. And with Vampiro maybe in the middle, Vampiro was just even recently managing Mecha Wolf within the NWA. So what's going to happen in an unsanctioned street fight, or what do they just called it, an unsanctioned match? Your guess is as good as mine. With Vampiro, you're not really sure. Now, man, Mecha Wolf has been all over the place. In fact, the show that I was going to go to last Saturday in Tijuana for the Crash Lucha Libre, I ended up not being able to make it out there. And of course, Mecha Wolf returns to the Crash along with not Pogo. It's not Pogo. El Pagon, the clown that faced off against Trevor Murdoch and the World is a Vampire tour. They teamed up together and started a rivalry, a skirmish, a battle with Bestia, Seis, and his group that are going by La Rebellion in the Crash. So it's really crazy to kind of wonder what's going on with Mecha Wolf and if these commitments to AAA Lucha Libre or the commitments to Mexico in general are going to impact what he's doing in the NWA. But I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. Obviously, being a big fan of Mecha Wolf, we're repping the Mecha Wolf t-shirt. I have both his shirt and the NWA shirt. I don't know which one's which at the moment, but there's also this one. I think this is the Mecha Wolf shirt that he's selling, and I think this is the NWA shirt that the NWA is selling. Both of them are pretty badass. I rep both of them. Let's see. Some more comments. Willie says, I enjoyed wrestling from the Sam Houston Coliseum in Houston, Texas, from Paul Bosch. Whatever happened to Paul Bosch's library? Who owns that? Is it now just floating in the, in the abyss of pro wrestling? It's a shame that the NWA was never able to do something with that channel, with that, not really a channel, but that vessel, that Paul Bosch library. I know that it was initially Bruce Tharp had plans to license a classic NWA classic channel with the Paul Bosch library. I don't know if that would have been the right way to go. I know that they were re-editing those videos. They were doing new commentary and new graphics and digitizing them to make them more modern compliant. Man, I think you should have just put them up on there on a channel and make them, either a small base subscription or a site that would pay via advertising, like a Pluto or something like that. It just feels like the library to just disappear, I think, is awful. It sounds terrible. Mike says, sometimes we need a blunt after watching their forced trauma. Fair enough. Is the Magnum muscle angle too late? That's been months. See, that's the problem, though, Matthew Underwood. That's the problem when they film these shows so far in advance that, that story was not finished. Magnum muscle was not finished, but we haven't heard of it because there is only 45 minutes of wrestling each week. And it doesn't feel like there's a dedicated platform to tell all of these stories. It's kind of the removal of the pay-per-views also removed a huge way of telling stories outside of Power. Now, yeah, we still have signature live events, but it's not the same because it's treated just as a regular episode of Power. So your signature live events are just fodder for Power, just more content for Power, which is great. I mean, fans rejoice. You're not paying for pay-per-views anymore, but also now you're limited in the stories that you're telling. And, Magnum Muscle is one of those stories that, wow, you're right. It's been months since we've talked about Magnum Muscle. But here it is. I truly hope this isn't going to be a letdown or a dunce cap movement with that promo and misery involved. It's hard to tell, man. Look, I'm not going to say Vampiro has been gold in the NWA. In fact, I'd say probably the opposite. But Mecha Wolf has been very entertaining to me. His entire run in the NWA has been a lot of fun. I did like La Rebellion. I like Mecha Wolf as a singles as well. So what do they have in store for this? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next, but it could be fun. It could be interesting. Remember, Misery loves companies where he can go next. There you go. Matthew Underwood bringing out that future Lucha Underground connection between Vampiro and Matt Striker as Striker joins a dark carnival known as the NWA commentary. There we go. They were decent on commentary. I'm not a huge Matt Striker fan. More on that another day. Chris says, Jay noticed Rush and Dradistico got out of the ring extremely fast. No, but I'll have to take a look to see what that's all about. Texas is big enough for multiple NWA territories. Okay, Matthew, that's sure, but who? Who makes sense? Don't tell me Reality of Wrestling. That doesn't make any sense to me. Reality of Wrestling right now is probably as big as the NWA is right now. And that's not to shit on the NWA. It's just to tell you how big Reality of Wrestling is. That streaming service, yes, and Tharp had it plans, but all fell through. You know the deal. I would have loved to work on that one. Oh, well. Yeah. I don't know. Willie, the thing about it is I don't think he actually owned the library. I think he owned the agreement to be able to use the library. But since then, Paul Bosch's widow has passed away, and I don't know where that lasts now. Tharp had 15 subscribers. Is that true, DK? Legitimate, just 15 subscribers? I think if you put that on Pluto, you'll get more than 15 people watching, and the advertisers would pay for that content. 15 subscribers? Holy shit. That's sad. Mike says, that is what was supposed to happen, Jay. Yes, subscription for the NWA streaming channel thing they had with the website. I was supposed to help with all. Yeah, and then the removal of USA. Yeah, both of these things have hurt the storytelling in the NWA. Now, don't get me wrong, USA was not a great program, but they could tell stories there, and they can continue to tell these stories in the territories. But so far, we haven't seen that. Now, we did see an angry Mims kind of flip out in the ring at the most recent Joe Cazana Promotions episode that's available on YouTube. But then we you could look to see May 3rd, Mims has a shot at the 10 pounds of gold and EC3 for the Exodus Pro. So who knows? It's kind of hard to understand. And yeah, Pluto has been around for a while. Yeah, Pluto was around back then. Supposedly Billy bought let me try that again. Wow. Supposedly, Billy bought whatever right Star had. After Bosch's widow passed away, his nephew, who was always claimed part ownership, claimed full ownership. There it is. That's what it is. Memories of the NWA. That is why I have cognac. Spoiler, Rush trying to return to CMLL. Can we talk about the Moon Pie commercial with Thrill and AJ before you sign off? Yeah, I just actually saw that earlier today. AJ representing the moon, Silas representing the sun, and they're going to have a showdown literally on the day of the lunar eclipse, where the moon will block out the sun for some 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And I guess they're going to be celebrating that by having a wrestling match between AJ and Silas, all on the backs of the moon pies. So get out there and buy some moon pies, and maybe we'll see more wrestling from that company or something. But that's going to do it, guys. Man, this 30 minutes, this hour goes by very, very quickly. Real quick, Dave Scooby says, Draper does a run-in on Mims and cost him the match. Dak is a new member of the Overmen. Scooby, now you're making too much sense, Dave Scooby. Because, of course, Dak Draper would be a member of the Overmen. He's got exactly everything that EC3 wants in an Overmen, I think. But that's going to do it for us this week on the pre-party or after-party, however you want to do it. I do appreciate you guys being here each and every Tuesday with me. Time flies like that. It's so much fun. And really, I enjoy it. So thank you for celebrating Tuesday with me. Of course, tomorrow, the other Alliance guys will be here to talk to you about MLW, the United Wrestling Network, et al. All of it. Mike says Discord. Yeah, we're going to be heading to Discord as soon as this is over. We're going to watch Power, and we're going to keep talking about it publicly until someone from the NWA tells me to stop. I dare them to. Yeah, let's go. So join me in Discord as soon as the conclusion of this show, and we'll be sure to start watching Power there. Of course, if you need a title belt, check out Trophy Smack. Fantasy baseball season's here. Fantasy basketball season is coming to a close. Fantasy hockey season will be ending just around the corner. Time to get your belts made, get them ready. They're great trophies. Plus, they're cool. They're cool to have those title belts, and I will get mine very, very soon to represent the 5,000 subscribers to this channel, all of which you guys helped grow. And then, of course, if you need some energy, make sure you check out Dubby. They are the official energy sponsors and hydration sponsors of the Alliance blog. Join us, get hydrated, get energized with jitterless energy. And until next time, gentlemen, ladies, etc., we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.